Hello everybody, I'm Stephanie. Today we're going to be taking some movement and finding some release for low back pain. So join me on your mat wherever you're at. When it comes to low back pain, if this is something that you are already experiencing, whether it is from an accident or from just improper activity in your life, or maybe someday this may be something you deal with, a lot of people are looking for relief from low back pain. And sometimes this is a vicious cycle where you've got low back pain because you've been inactive for so long and you're not wanting to be active to get rid of the back pain, and so you continue to be inactive and you're just more back pain on top of that. You're constantly finding yourself going to the chiropractor every few weeks, or you're needing to go get therapeutic massages every few weeks, and those are fabulous, but what you're wanting to do is incorporate what they're doing into your daily life. So finding time on your mat, like you're joining me today, to stretch things out, to make space in the body that things can naturally go back into alignment. So once we've stretched out the muscles, the second part we're going to do in some coming weeks is to strengthen around there. So after you've stretched out, or you've been to the chiropractor, or you've gotten that therapeutic massage, and those areas are back in alignment, you want to strengthen the core and strengthen the hips and the glutes and the inner thighs to hold that alignment, to hold the vertebrae in place where they're supposed to be, so that you're not having to constantly get everything adjusted back into place. The body is naturally going to adjust itself back. So we stretch, we strengthen, and then at the end we stretch again. So we're going to begin today with the breath, and this is a very important part. It's not just the physical body that we're wanting to pay attention to, but we're also wanting to be aware what we're doing mentally to our low back. So we're always just saying, oh, I've got a bad back. You may have a weaker back, and that is okay, but instead of calling it bad or always expecting it to be in pain, noticing that you have a little bit of control of your reaction to that thing. Yes, it may hurt, and that affects the way that we think about things, but it's also up to you to find that movement. That's why a lot of times people, when they go to physical therapists, they say, it just doesn't work for me. It's not so much that it doesn't work, it's that they're not wanting to work. They're not wanting to do the work. And I've done that too. I've gone to physical therapists and said, oh, it didn't work for me. And then I was questioned saying, well, did you do the exercises? No, I didn't, because we're looking for a quick fix. And this is not a quick fix. This is a change of lifestyle. So if you have the tendency to have a lot of low back problems, you're always going to need to come back and listen to the body and see what you need to stretch, strengthen, and stretch again. So beginning with the breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Just noticing how things are feeling today. And you may not even be able to notice anything but that low back pain. And that's okay. But just breathing room into the space, even if it's just mental. On your next inhale, arms are going to reach up overhead. Lengthen, 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 not just through the arms. So it's not the arms that are reaching out of the sockets, but you're reaching the torso, lengthening, lengthening. Keep that length. As you exhale, hands come down through heart center. Did you notice what happened in the spine? Did everything come back down? Can you keep it lengthened? Inhale, arms reach up overhead again. Keep your length. Exhale, hands down through heart center. One more time. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. And this time we're going to find a little side bend. Left palm's going to plant, right arm reaches up and over. And just notice how that feels in your body. Does it feel like the right hip and the right knee want to go along because everything's so tight that when you find this side bend movement, that everything's lifting? Can you gently press the right hip, the right knee back down? You might have to come back up a little bit more, but find your edge where you can press to with the breath releasing. So you're not holding the breath and pressing, but gently reaching and letting go with the breath. Feeling that stretch through the right hip, through the right QL, up the whole right side. Inhale back through center, other side. Right palm plants, left arm up and over. Just noticing what's happening in the body. Is the left knee, left hip going with you? Can you press it back down? Do you need to lift back up a little bit? Finding your edge on this side. Different sides of the body, different things are going to happen. Inhale back to center, and this time we're going to find a little twist. Left hand behind, right hand's going to cross to the opposite knee or thigh. But keep length in your torso. This is going to be so important to help with the low back pain, to find length, extension. And then with the breath, exhale, release into it, feeling it from the very base of the spine. So it's not just the neck that's twisting, or not just the shoulder, and then you're going, oh, that hurts even more. But you're feeling it from the very base of the spine. The whole torso is going over towards the left. And you might just spend a few breaths here. And then we're going to do the other side. Inhale back through center. Exhale, right hand comes behind, left hand crosses opposite thigh or knee, feeling it from the base of the spine. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, release. Inhale back through center, and exhale, palms down through heart center. Coming to child's pose. This one is amazing. This is something you should be doing daily, even if you feel fabulous. Child's pose in the morning before bed. So toes are going to touch. Knees are going to be spread nice and wide, and this might even be too much. You might be going, oh my gosh, my hips are tight. I can't get down like that, and that's okay if everything's lifted. You're going to reach the arms out in front of you and find that length in the torso again, reaching the tailbone back and the crown forward. And that might be as far as you can go. Maybe you get a block or a pillow so you can rest your forehead on it. If you're comfortable, maybe the forehead comes down to the mat, but that's okay. If it's still just, it's just too tight, too much, maybe you find a little bit of movement here. Inhale, come up. Exhale, reach back through the hips. Lengthen the torso. Inhale, come up. Exhale, release back down. And then just finding some stillness wherever your body is comfortable. And the more you come into this position, into this pose, you're going to notice the hips are going to lengthen, the muscles of the hips, the muscles of the glutes, the muscles of the low back. But we want to keep that length. Notice what's happening in the spine. Is it reaching up towards the ceiling? Can you melt the heart down towards the floor and lengthen? Beautiful. On your next inhale, make your way back up to your tabletop. Knees are going to come underneath your hips, wrist underneath your shoulders. And maybe just finding a little bit of movement through the spine. Maybe you wag the hips side to side. We're going to find some movement through cat and cow. This is another one, just daily moving. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Reach the spine up towards the ceiling. Feel that movement in the shoulders and the low back and the hips. Using the breath. Maybe one more set. And then we're going to come back to our neutral spine. Walk your hands back towards your knees. You're going to come to standing on your knees. And we're going to come into something called 90-90. And this is a beautiful one. We're stretching out the hip flexors and the psoas, which is sometimes what's pulling on that low back. And then we're going, oh my gosh, what is going on? And we just assume it's the muscles of the low back. But there's so many different things. You're going to step your right foot out. Right knee is over your right ankle. Left knee is underneath your left hip. And just notice what's going on in your body. Are you reaching the tailbone back? Can you already feel an arch in the low back? Can you pull the core in and reach the hips down? Because we're wanting to find this stretch in the left psoas and the left hip flexor. So you already might feel it in the left hip there. On your next inhale, left arm's going to reach up overhead. Keep reaching the hips down. Don't let the tailbone go back. And then on your exhale, reaching that left arm up and over to the right. So you're sending a big stretch to the whole left side body, but down through that left psoas, down into the left thigh, all the way to the knee. Inhale back to center, left hand comes down. We're going to do the other side. right knee underneath your right hip, left foot steps out, left knee over left ankle. What's going on in the pelvis? Can you get the hips down? Core is pulling in. Right arm's going to reach up. Keep reaching the hips down, 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 down. And on your exhale, little side bend, right arm reaches up and over to the left. You should be feeling this in the right psoas, inside that right hip flexor. Inhale back to center. Left knee's going to come back down, and you're going to make your way back to your tabletop. This time we're going to come into something called puppy dog. I love this one. The hips are going to stay lifted this time. We're prepping the body, just taking it a little bit deeper every single time. You're going to walk the hands out in front of you. Again, if you need to put a block or a pillow or something underneath the forehead, that's okay. But we're reaching this time hips up and back towards the ceiling. So it's not down towards the heels. It's back towards the ceiling as we're lengthening the torso. So really reaching forward through the crown and back through the hips. Core is pulling in. Taking one more breath here. Beautiful. And then walk those hands back underneath your shoulders, back to your tabletop. And then pressing down into the mat. We're prepping here for down dog. Core pulls in. Tuck your toes very, very, very gently. Lift the hips up and back. You might even notice, oh my gosh, that's about as far as I can go, and that's okay. If the hamstrings are very tight, the hips are very tight, it's not so much that you want to get the legs super straight, it's the fact that you want to lengthen that torso. So keep the bend in the knees if you need to. Belly button pulls in. Press the heart back towards the thighs, but notice your ears are in line with your shoulders, so you're not pressing back past the shoulders. Take a little bit of movement here. Maybe it's just very, very slight. Just pedaling the heels out, noticing how that feels in the back of the legs. Can you notice, are the hamstrings really, really tight? Are the back of the knees tight? Is it the hips? Everybody's body's different. So the goal is not so much that the heels are touching the mat, because everybody's body, again, is different. I say this over and over again. I'm telling myself too. So some days maybe the knees are a little bit more bent. And we're going to take our time, look up between your hands, walk your feet to the top of your mat, keeping that deep bend in the knees. Belly button still pulling in. And then lengthening down through the crown. So don't worry about where the hands are touching. They may just be kind of hovering, and that's fine. But we want to reach down through the crown. So you might need to soften the knees quite deep and then reach down through the crown. So again, we're lengthening. You should feel this stretch in the low back here. If you feel it here in the hamstrings and it's a little bit too intense, bend the knees even more. But if it feels okay, begin to reach the hips up towards the ceiling, lengthening out those hamstrings. Maybe you take a little bit of movement here. You can grab opposite elbows, come into ragdoll. Maybe you rock side to side, feeling that movement through the hips. Then we're going to let the arms hang back down. Inhale, halfway lift. Even in the halfway lift, long, 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 long torso. So a lot of times you see people curved over, and it's not the curve that we want. We want the length. So reach forward through the crown, back through the hip, core is pulling in, shoulders rolling back. We're going to take a few more of those. Exhale, reach down through your crown. Soften the knees if you need to. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down. Deep, deep bend in your knees, and you're going to come back to your tabletop. Knees underneath your hips, wrists underneath your shoulders. Second round, cat and cow. How does this feel? Have things let go a little bit? Do things still feel super tight? That's okay. Just do what you can do. And then come back to your neutral spine. Tuck your toes again. Second time, down dog. So again, how does this one feel? Are the hamstrings a little bit looser? The hips a little bit looser? Deep bend in your knees. Look between your hands. Walk your feet all the way up. We're going to find a little twist this time, lengthening. So you're going to grab either a block or a pillow or a book or something, and you're going to place it underneath your left palm. And you can turn it up as high as you need to. Maybe it's a ton of pillows here. Or if it's comfortable, you don't need to use a block. You can just plant your hand on the ground. But bend your left knee. So very deep bend in your left knee. Plant your left palm. And then we're finding a twist in the torso. Torso's going to the right. Right palm is lifted. Oh, I love this one. So you should be feeling this through the outer right hip, maybe into the middle hip, all the way down the leg. So we're lengthening here. Can you let go here with the breath? Twisted, standing forward fold. And then exhale, right palm comes back down. We're going to do the other side. Move the block, right knee bends, left knee is going to straighten, torso goes to the left, left palm reaches up. So this time feeling it all the way from the left heel, all the way up the leg, into the left outer hip. You might feel it into the low back. Remember, if you need to come up a lot higher, that's okay. And exhale, left palm comes back down. We're going to balance back out. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down through the crown. This time, pull your core in. Roll up one vertebrae at a time. Ragdoll. Maybe soften the knees. Last thing up is the head. Good, beautiful. And then bring your hands to the small of your back. You're going to roll your shoulders back. Elbows are going to reach towards each other. Inhale, up through the crown. Reach, 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 reach. You keep that length. And then shoot your hips forward. Little back bend. Open up. This is another beautiful one to do every single morning, just opening up. But what's happening a lot of times is people just say, oh, I just need a back bend. And so they back bend, and they're dumping down into the low back. Hello, Data. But so you want to keep the length. Inhale, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Exhale, keep the length, shoot the hips forward. Good, inhale, back up. Exhale, core still pulling in. We're going to melt all the way back down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, reach back down. Deep bend in your knees, plant your hands. Step your knees back to your tabletop, and then you're going to lower yourself all the way down to your belly. Hands are going to come underneath your shoulders. Elbows pointed back behind you, shoulders roll back. Grip your mat like you're trying to dig down into your mat. Drag yourself forward. Can you feel that length in the low back? So that's, again, what we're looking for. Length, length, length. I'm tired of her saying length. What's her problem? I know. And then on your next inhale, can you lift up a little bit? Pull the core in. Little cobra. Exhale, float back down. We're going to take 2 more of those. Inhale. Lengthen forward, lift up, exhale, melt back down. One more time, inhale, forward, lift up, exhale, melt back down. Beautiful. Press up, back through your tabletop. And this time we're going to find another little twist. So twists are just so amazing to wring out and stretch out those sides of the back. Right arm lifts. And then we're going to thread the needle. Right arm underneath your left. Drop your right shoulder, right ear. Left hand can stay underneath your shoulder. You can reach it above you. So just grounding down here. Feeling that twist. Left hand's going to come back underneath your shoulder. Press up. Right arm lifts, little twist. And exhale, right palm comes back down. Other side. Inhale, left arm lifts. Exhale, thread the needle, left arm down, left shoulder, left ear. Right hand can stay underneath your shoulder. You can reach it above you. Again, releasing into the twist. Right hand comes back underneath. Press up, left arm lifts, little twist. And exhale, left palm comes back down to the mat. Just noticing how you're feeling here. I'm going to turn to the front. You're going to step your right foot out to the side and come down onto all 4 corners. Then walking your hands back towards your left knee is underneath the hip, you're going to come all the way up. This time we're going to stretch the inner thigh. Inhale, both arms reach up overhead. On your exhale, right arm down, left arm up and over. Take it slow. This is a deep inner thigh, inner hip stretch. Gate pose. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Right knee comes underneath the hip. Left foot steps out. Grounding down all four corners. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. And exhale, left palm down, right arm up and over. Take it gently. It might just be a tiny, tiny stretch. You might need to come back up. And exhale, come back down. Maybe take a few of those if that does not feel quite right in your body. But sending that release to the inner left hip, the inner left thigh. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Left knee comes back underneath the hip. We're going to take another little back bend here. Hands come to the small of your back. So this is the same thing like we did standing, but on the knees. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, shoot the hips forward. Inhale, come back up. You might notice, oh, that went a little bit deeper this time. Beautiful. Hands are going to come back down towards the mat. You're going to have a seat on your ankles, cross your ankles, and bring your feet out from underneath you. We're going to make our way all the way down to our back. And then just walk the feet down and apart. So the feet are about as wide as the mat. On your exhale, both knees are going to go to the right. So you're feeling this again into the left hip flexor, the left psoas. Inhale, knees back to center. Exhale, both knees to the left. Feeling this through the right side, right hip, right psoas. And then inhale, back to center. We're going to come to a Shavasana, but if you're in back pain, instead of just legs extended, it might feel good on the back to bend the knees and then bring the knees together and the feet apart. And then can you relax the pelvis? Is it just kind of tilted still? Is there this big, huge dip? Can't see it because of my shirt, but is there a big, huge dip in your low back? There's tons of space on the mat. You want to relax the pelvis down, relax the core down until that low back can come in connection with the mat. And then just spending a few breaths here. This might be your Shavasana shape for a while. This is always an option at the end of a class if you're going to any community or public yoga class. Instead of legs extended, to bend the knees, bring the knees together, feet apart. And then come back to that breath just where you began. We're ending again. Listening to the low back, seeing if it has released a little bit, and if it hasn't, it's okay. It takes time. This is not push a button and it's all fixed. Our bodies need time to heal. And then whenever you're ready, very, very important, especially with low back pain, to roll over onto one side or the other. You don't want to sit straight up because the low back is very tight. And spending some time on your side. So if you notice that your left side low back is the one that's always a little bit tight, you're going to roll to the right, and vice versa. If it's the right side back that's tight, you're going to roll to the left. This is even true when you're getting up in the morning, to always roll onto your side and then press yourself up. That's going to take some of the strain off the low back. And then as we strengthen the core, you might notice it becomes a little bit more easy to bring yourself up. So thank you so much for joining me. This is part one where we're stretching things out. We're going to be looking at next time strengthening the core. So I hope you'll join me for that next week. But let's seal in this time together. Inhale your arms up. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Oh, there she goes again. And exhale, hands down through heart center. Thank you so much for taking this time. I know it is especially difficult if you're in pain and with low back pain to even find just a little bit of movement. But just trust yourself, trust me, trust your body that it was made to heal itself. We're not meant to be in pain. And yes, that may be a place where we live for a while, but things can get better if we choose to mentally send those good thoughts into our body and to choose to take some movement even when we're not feeling like it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Blessings and namaste.